Hi, I just want to share with you something that I came up very recently when I was working with a team. And I just thought I would share it with you because I think that, it's not that unusual, and this team is successful in its own industry. It, really is successful. But we got into a conversation about, what are your priorities? And there were a good few people within the team. And when we start talking about that, it was, oh, well, we've lots of different priorities and we've lots of different things that we need to do. So I said, okay, so if I was to ask you, what are your top three priorities? And the answer was that they could not come up with their top three priorities. They came up with loads of priorities. And I did share with them what I discovered recently, that in fact, it wasn't until about the 1940s that such a word as the plural of priority, in fact, exists. Because up to then it was just priority. And when you think about it, priority is just one. So how can you kind of have a plural of one? It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, that's kind of by the by, but it is an interesting thought to keep in our heads. So it really made me think about it that, when we're in an organization and we're not crystal clear about the priorities, then we have just got a recipe for a lot of confusion. That it's kind of whoever shouts loudest, whatever email pings on my laptop, that's what I do. So we got into this frenzy of busyness. And I think that you've got to stand back from it and kind of say, okay, well, let's start and say, okay, what's the purpose? So if it's in an organization, what's the purpose of the business? If it's a department within the business, then what's the purpose of that department? Or if you're in a role and you're, say, in charge of a particular group of people, what's the purpose of the role that I have? Or even if you're kind of working on your own, what is the purpose of my role? And then once you're clear about the purpose, then it becomes, well, what are the three top priorities that I need to deliver in that role or this organization or this team this year? And once you're able to determine exactly what those top three priorities are, then you actually know what are the right things that you've got to focus on. Because if you cascade it down and say, okay, I need to be clear about the top three for the year, that means that you've got to be clear about the top three for the month, which means you've got to be clear about the top three for the week, which means you've got to be clear about what are the top three things that I need to do this day. And if you organize your time around that and you organize your schedule around that, then it is ensuring that you've got a really good chance of what you're doing is not just being busy, but you're actually being effective because you're focused on the things that matter most in order to achieve and the results that you're looking for. Because it does follow what's your purpose, what's your priorities, and then what are the results that you're looking from as a consequence of focusing on those priorities. And I really encourage anyone to use that as a template for their weekly planning. Understand what your vision is, and that doesn't particularly change over a certain period of time. Then understanding what your priorities are, and then understanding what are the priorities for this month, this week, or this day that actually cascade down. So it does make sure that it kind of cascades down and it feeds back up. And I think that that's a really important thing to do. And it's certainly something that I try and do in my own business. It doesn't work all the time. That's just the reality of it. But it's certainly something that I focus in an awful lot. And I think it's something really valuable to do. I always kind of remember what Warren Buffett, and he's somebody that's worth thinking about. He said that in any business there are probably 5 things that you need to have in your dashboard. And he was talking businesses of kind of enormous size and smaller size. He said, and if they are the right 5 things and you really make sure that you're focused on those, then you have a pretty good chance of having a business. And I think, as I said, he is somebody that is worth listening to. But I would always advocate, in any given time, be really clear about what are your current 3 priorities. Now, those priorities may shift as you go through the year because you would take off different objectives that you will achieve. But for this period of time, whether it's this month, this week, and then you cascade it down to day, and that really helps. It certainly helps me to do it. And I certainly would feel that with the team that I was talking about, who were awash with priorities, which means they actually don't have any priorities, then, it really does help to give that focus. So I hope that helps, and I hope that actually gives a little bit more sharpness to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Talk soon.